Welcome to another round of Coffee and Donuts. I'm Frank, former federal law enforcement officer and full-time law enforcement instructor. And here's where I answer your questions about the police hiring process, about the police academy, about the police career, success, advancement, anything you can think of. We have 3 pre-submitted questions already. This is going to be kind of a little bit in depth on these ones. So I'm going to give you the real truth and hard answers, and then some real tips to actually help you along the way. Let's discuss. Okay, here we go. Starting off with this first one, I'm not going to be kind here. I'm not going to be kind. I have my interview tomorrow and I no longer possess business casual clothes. I wonder if I can just wear a nice looking polo with casual pants and shoes. No, absolutely not. Do not do that. You will not get selected. I'll be surprised if they even allow you to interview, or if your interview is just like 3 minutes. Don't do it. Go down to Goodwill or wherever. If financial hardship is an issue, go call somebody, a friend that's the same size that you can borrow a suit from, or proper business attire, and wear what is required. The only time you do not wear a suit or professional attire when going in front of the department is if they specifically request you not to. And that would be, say, the PT exam, or if they say, hey, go to the poly, but you need to wear business casual, don't wear a suit and tie. Maybe they might say something like that. Outside of that, absolutely not. This, I can tell you right now, multiple times, and this happened to multiple different people. I've told them, members of mine that I would coach, I told them, hey, do not go to the department. Oh, I'm just going to drop off my background pack. Do not go to the department without being in proper business attire. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And then they go in and they said, oh man, the lieutenant pulled me in the back, or the chief pulled me in the back, or the sheriff pulled me in the back, and we did an interview right there on the spot, and I was in blue jeans and sneakers. And then I immediately got a letter afterwards saying that I've been removed from the hiring process. Don't do it. Don't do it. There is no reason to not do it. Like I said, even if there's a financial hardship, call someone, borrow something, go to Goodwill, buy a nice suit jacket for, a couple bucks, buy a tie for 50 cents, whatever it is. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're going to shoot yourself in the foot, and you're not going to get selected. And then you're going to have to disclose that to every other department. Hey, what happened? Oh, I didn't make it past the board interview. Oh, really? Why did this department not want this guy? Then they're going to pick up the phone, especially if they're local to each other, and they're going to say, hey, ABC department, this is XYZ department. I have so-and-so over here, and I'm trying to figure out, he applied to you guys, he's applying to us. What happened? It says that he didn't make it through y'all's hiring process. Yeah, if I remember that guy correctly, he showed up in, slacks, sneakers, and a polo. No, don't do it. It's that simple. Don't do it. Professional attire at all times, unless the department specifically tells you otherwise. Best tip I can give you right there. Number one way to just beat out everyone else who does not put in the effort. Show up in professional attire. That's it. You're going to see people not show up in a professional attire. Don't do that. Another tip, anytime you're showing up to the department, show up in a legal vehicle, because a lot of departments, especially nowadays, are out there flagging candidates in and inspecting their vehicles. Do you have illegal tint? Do you have proper registration and insurance on the vehicle? If you're showing up committing a traffic violation or an infraction, a moving infraction or a vehicle infraction, they're going to remove you from the process, and they're not going to let you participate in whatever event you're doing. The written exam, the PT exam, the oral board, whatever. Now, typically I only see this at the departments, but little inside tip there that I think you will appreciate. Which one to do next? This is hard because I really want to deep dive both of these. Okay, we'll do this one. Next question. If I live in an area that is super competitive, 500 applicants for 2 to 3 spots, would it be better to apply to more than 3 departments? No, it wouldn't, because if you keep 3 departments in rotation at any given time, let's look what happens if you apply to 1 department at a time. You apply to one department at a time. It takes you 6 months, right? Let's say you do it in 6 months to go through the hiring process. Let's say you make it to the end, you get non-selected, or you just don't get picked up. You fail the psych or something. There's 6 months gone. And guess what? Now you got to start the process all the way over from ground zero, right? So then you do it with another department, and you only apply to one department that time too. Same thing happens. You make it all the way to the end or towards the end. It takes 5-6 months. You don't get picked up with that department. Then say you do it with a third department, and that department picks you up, but it takes 6 months. You're 18 months into applying. That's a long time for you to get in trouble at work that could hurt your background, have a moving violation, or lose a job, have financial hardship. That's a lot of time, right? You don't want that. You want to apply to 3 at a time. Why? Because you can articulate, hey, I've applied to my top 3 departments. I've evaluated all the departments around, and I've applied to my top 3, and I'm only in the process currently right now with my top 3 departments, and your department's at the top of the list. Because all that's true and accurate. That's it. That's all true and accurate. And then if a department tells you no, you just replace them so that you always have 3 in rotation at any given time, so that you're never starting from ground zero, right? And even if 2 say no around the same time, you select 2 more departments. If you're willing to apply to all these other departments anyway, just put them in a rotation so that at the end you don't lose out on a department because they don't see loyalty, right? Because they don't see commitment to their department. They don't want to see that you're just going to use their department as a stepping stone, right? It costs too much money these days to put you through training, to get you up to speed, only for you to leave within a year or 2 to go to another agency. Don't do that, right? Don't put yourself in that predicament. I can tell you almost every single one, probably 95% of all candidates making it to the end that I'm helping, and that actually my whole team is helping coach, they all are getting asked the same question from the higher leadership. Why should we believe that you're committed to this department? Why should we believe that you're committed to serving our community? Why do you want to serve our community? Why did you choose our department? What makes me think that you're going to stick around? And some of them are having a hard time answering that because they have 5, 6, 7, 12 departments that they apply to because they followed a very antiquated style, which was over 20 years ago, of shotgun your resume out there and just go to the first department that picks you up and worry about the rest later. Departments aren't doing that anymore. Not at all. So keep that in mind. Okay. Last question. And I might be reading into this, right? But I feel like I'm feeling the emotion as this person has written this. And so it's kind of hitting me hard on this one. What are the chances you even get an interview in the first place? Once I pass the chip test and submit an application, what about me is going to make them choose me? Me amongst the other thousands of kids who pass the written and physical test, or even the departments that don't require a chip card. When I'm applying, how do I actually get their attention? That is deep, and it's mostly deep. And once again, maybe I'm reading into this, but I feel like I can feel the emotion that this individual has when they're asking this question, and like, why should I even try? And that's one of the number one reasons I started doing this, because good candidates were out there saying, oh man, do I even want to deal with this hiring process? Is it even worth it? And here's what I'm going to tell you. Yes, the career is worth it. The career is worth it, and you can make a major impact on people's lives. A major impact on people's lives. For the good and the bad, right? It depends on how, which wolf do you feed? Feed the wolf of bad despair or light and hope, so to say, that old saying, and I'm kind of messing it up, but consider that a paraphrase. What you are 100% guaranteed is you will not get hired if you don't try. That's 100% guaranteed. There's no magic, what is it, fairy princess that's going to come down and wave their wand and bam, you're a police officer till midnight. That's not going to happen if you don't apply, right? What I can tell you is a lot of people feel the same way. But where all these thousands of people, if you get 1,000 applicants, maybe out of that 1,000, maybe 600 pass the written. And then out of that 600, maybe, maybe 400 pass the PT test, right? So now you're going into it against 400 applicants. Well, guess what? Now they're going to be reviewing those applicants based on how they articulated themselves. There's that word again, that word I'm always using, articulation. Well, guess what? You can articulate yourself on paper. There we go. Got it out. On paper, in writing. When you submit your resume, right? When you submit that aspect, what you do to stand out. Most people are saying, "Oh, well, I have high school and I have, and I've worked, at the same job doing I don't know, working in a restaurant for 4 years." Well, guess what? You've just beat out 90% of the people that haven't been able to maintain a job for 1 year. But you didn't know how to market yourself, right? To articulate that. Now you have that advantage, right? Or let's say that you have a degree, right? Most active law enforcement, only about 50% of active law enforcement have an associate degree, and only about 25% of active law enforcement have a bachelor's degree, right? So education. So if you're the individual that went to college first, right, and say you're a younger individual and you went to college first, and hey, there you have that going for you, right? Competing against individuals who don't have a degree, but then round yourself out, right? That old saying, a jack of all trades is a master of none. Well, if you finish it out, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but still better than any master of one, right? So if you're relying on one aspect of I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, okay, so does other people, but then they have more, right? If you're relying, I'm the top PT person, in the candidate pool, okay, but do you know how to speak? Do you know how to talk about yourself? Do you know how to do well during the board interview? Do you have a clean background, right? So you got these 400 candidates that right off the bat probably have horrible resumes. I shouldn't say horrible resumes, but probably don't have the best resumes they could, right? Probably didn't articulate themselves as well as they could on their application, and might not even get invited to the board interview, where you might have done okay on the written exam, okay on the PT exam, but then you properly articulated yourself on your application, and you maybe went out, did a couple extra things. One of the things that we added to our coaching for our coaching members is, well, I guess to anyone it's actually on our online course, so anyone can have access to it, is Tech Med training, right? Is law enforcement Tech Med training. I'm a certified law enforcement Tech Med instructor, and I created some Tech Med training for the average person, right? For the average citizen that's law enforcement focused, that wants to get into law enforcement. And they can go on and they can do that, and they can build up their resume. They could get, do some FEMA courses to make themselves look, by the way, you're going to have to do those anyway. So if they see, oh, hey, this guy's already got FEMA ICS, this guy's got FEMA, incident command, like they're going to look at that and they're going to say, oh, well, this guy or gal is already doing what they need to pursue this profession. For me, when I got out of the military, the first thing I went and did, and I was just taking this on a whim, I was just listening to someone who was at the college that I was going to for my police academy. But they reached out to me. I was actually still on my last deployment when they reached out to schedule this via email. And they reached out to ask me if I wanted to become an EMT, if I wanted to not even become an EMT, if I wanted to pay a couple $1,000s to go through EMT school, and that wouldn't even guarantee I'd have to pass that just to be able to be eligible to take the test, and then I'd have to pass the test, and there was no guarantee that I would even become an EMT. And by the way, that was the hardest academic work I've ever done, was the medical EMT course, because it was all just packed and consolidated into a very short period of time. But anyway, I invested in myself, a couple $1,000s, not knowing. And then that one thing led to me getting selected for my first law enforcement position over other candidates had a very similar background to me, right? And then not only that, it was actually the first thing that led to me getting my first instructorship, which was a TAC Med instructor, tactical medicine instructor, because at the point in time you had to be an EMT, right, in order to become an instructor in it. I don't believe that's the case now, but that one investment in myself changed everything for me, for my law enforcement career. I mean, well, I shouldn't say changed everything, but opened a lot of doors, right? So it doesn't even have to be a financial investment. Just you can invest your time to grow, to become better. Like I said, take those FEMA courses. There's something out there if you're going to be in sheriffs, if you're going to go for a deputy sheriff position, and they have a RSO, a school, SRO, SRO, school resource officer, which is just the deputies inside the school. There's a federal program called Readiness Emergency Management for Schools, REMS. I'm not affiliated with them by any means, but I've gotten multiple different trainings from them as well, and that's great stuff. And that's actually, I wish more schools knew about that, because that's a way that they can share information, especially emergency management information, right? REMS, REMS, Readiness Emergency Management for Schools. So that's another area that you can go to. There's so many ways to make yourself stand out. The question is are you willing to put in the work? You're not just going to show up and say, "Hey, Frank, give me the coup de grace tip to make me stand out and be the best." No. You got to put in the work. I will give you this tip, though. What I've seen work really well for me, which was unintentional, but I've seen it carry a lot of weight. Not every department allows this, and then also not every type of physical fitness test will work for this. But when you finish, if you have a 1.5 mile run and you finished a 1.5 mile run and there's still candidates left out there, go motivate them to finish, even if they're not going to pass. Let the instructors determine whether or not they're going to call it or stuff like that. But go motivate them. You might help someone pass that was really struggling, right? I've heard people, some people say, "Hey, if they're going to fail, they're going to fail." They've heard some of the instructors say this: we don't support failure. I don't agree with that, right? Because your whole career is based on support and service. So start before you even start your career. Go out there and helps motivate someone to finish. I'm not telling you be out there and be a cheerleader and go team go, but go run next to them, run up to them after you catch your breath, after you finish, say, "Hey, you mind if I finish this run with you?" If they say no, go run to the second person that's second to last. Go finish with them. Like I said, maybe you can motivate them to finish in time to pass. Compete against yourself, not against other people. That is the number one thing I can tell you. Compete against yourself. Try to do your personal best every time you step in front of any of the hiring process, and then continue that method throughout your academy and then throughout your career, so that it's never about what your colleagues or anyone else is doing. It's about how you can be the best person and best law enforcement officer you can be to serve the community, because that's what you're there for. You're there to serve the community, nothing else. Yes, it is a great career. It is a great profession that can provide for you and your family. But at the end of the day, the purpose of it is service to the community that you're assigned to. And that's it. All right. I hope this helps. Listen, we have a lot of different gifts going on for you, a lot of different things to help you out. And all those can be found at our website, ArmageddonCT.com. That link is down in the description. You can check out our new blog, which we are posting every day in. And also, we were able to integrate a chat system in there so that you can ask questions over on our blog, and we check those daily. So that's a big win. Additionally, we have our new Ellie AI hiring assistant, and you can find her on the front page of our website as well. There'll be a little chat box down in the bottom. She can assist in helping you questions. All this is free. Our gifts. Make sure you use them. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.